This is TVS. Time now for the national and international news.
Man and woman charged tonight over Northolt arms cache. Libya's airports cut off, but Gaddafi faces down the UN. Livingston set to lead Hard Left's leadership challenge. Mount Etna's molten lava is on the move again. And new faces, new style. The cameras look in on the cabinet. Good evening. Within the last hour, a man and a woman have been charged by detectives investigating the current IRA bombing campaign on the mainland. They were arrested on Monday at a bungalow in Northolt in West London, close to a garage where bombs and weapons were found. The two will appear in court tomorrow, charged with possession of guns and Semtex explosives. The man is also charged with the bomb explosion in Soho in London 9 days ago. Police hunting the gunman who shot a recruiting sergeant in Derby on Monday night have issued a photograph of one man and given descriptions of two others they want to question. Sergeant Mike Newman died yesterday. The INLA said they'd killed him.
The man and woman who have been charged are still being held at Paddington Green Police Station, where they have been detained for the past 46 hours. Police say Joseph Canning is charged with causing an explosion at Bridle Lane in Soho on April the 6th. No one was hurt in that blast, although a number of buildings were damaged. Canning and the woman Ethel Lamb are charged with offences relating to an arms cache discovered in a lock-up garage in Northolt, West London on Monday, and conspiring to cause explosions on the mainland. The man and woman were arrested after armed police surrounded a bungalow in which they were living in Northolt on Monday night. In Derby, police investigating the murder of Sergeant Newman have moved in on 4 houses and taken away a number of items for forensic examination. Police named Joseph McGee as someone they want to question. Security sources say McGee, who has a conviction for possessing a handgun, was seen in Derby recently. 3 men are believed to have escaped in this gold-coloured motorcar after that shooting. Sergeant Newman died on Tuesday morning after being shot in the head. The first of the other 2 men is aged between 22 and 25, is about 5 feet 7 inches tall, with athletic build and light brown hair. The other is aged between 20 and 22, is about 6 feet tall, slim build, with dark hair.
And my appeal to the public is to try and identify where they may be and put names to the 2 men that I'm unable to put a name to. But at the same time, I've got to warn that should they be cited, the action to be taken is one of contact the police and let them take the action.
4 other people are being questioned, but Derby police believe the 3 main suspects remain at large.
In Northern Ireland, there's been a hostile reaction from Catholic and Protestant politicians to the appointment of Mr. Michael Mates as the province's new junior minister. In Belfast, a former member of the loyalist Ulster Defence Association was shot dead this morning outside his pub by the UDA itself. They said he'd been a police spy.
It emerged this afternoon that Ned McCreary's brutal death last night was not a sectarian killing. The loyalist paramilitary group, the UFF, a cover name for the Ulster Defence Association, said it killed him, saying he was a special branch informer. His death is the first since Sir Patrick Mayhew became the new Northern Ireland Secretary. His appointment is thought to herald the advent of a tougher security policy, particularly so since it was announced that the backbencher Michael Mates would become a junior minister here, probably with responsibility for security. A former Lieutenant Colonel in the Queen's Dragoon Guards who has served in Northern Ireland, he has strong views on how to deal with terrorist violence. Nationalist politicians say his appointment is insensitive.
If he brings the old baggage that he used in the House of Commons, like the return of capital punishment and some other hardline issues, then he will be an abject failure.
There is no soft line against terrorism. Terrorism within the law must be rooted out. That's only part of the problem. On that, no one will be more hardline than I will.
Mr. Mates' appointment has also upset unionist politicians.
He has not got the first-hand experience, and he will be seen, I think, by unionists as having an unhelpful prejudice in terms of his knees under the table relationship with Dublin.
Over the coming months and against a constant backdrop of violence, Mr. Mates will play an important role in the difficult task of formulating security policy. It's a job that won't have been made any easier by the controversy over his appointment. Tom Bradby, News at 10 in Belfast.
Libyan planes took off today on the first day of UN sanctions, but they got nowhere. Italian jets were scrambled to turn away one aircraft approaching Italian airspace. No country, not even fellow Arab neighbors, would give the Libyans permission to land. Libya's diplomatic isolation increased too. Germany, France, Italy and Japan asked Gaddafi's diplomats to leave. The Foreign Secretary, Mr. Hurd, said here he hoped today's sanctions would persuade Libya to give up the two men wanted for the Lockerbie bombing.
They were queuing up at Libya's land borders today to leave the country, with the ban on flights going by road or ship is the only way in and out. Libyan Airlines began the day saying its flights would operate normally. At Tripoli airport, hundreds queued to board. Some international flights took off but went nowhere. A regular Libyan flight to Cairo was turned back at the border, as was a second flight to another Arab neighbour, Tunisia. Then a third plane headed for Zurich, but was forbidden from overflying Italy. Italian fighters scrambled to enforce the ban. The readiness of Italy to use its air force and of Arab countries to support the UN sanctions may have surprised the Libyan leader. But the flights ban will inconvenience rather than handicap travellers. Libyan Airlines can still fly passengers internally to a small airport close to the Egyptian border. Then they'll be driven to a nearby Egyptian airfield from where they'll continue their journey by air. At sea, the number of ferries operating to Malta will increase to compensate for the air embargo. This morning, Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd warned that the sanctions could be toughened if Libya continues to defy the UN. A ban on oil exports is what would really hurt Libya deeply, but the UN is some way from considering that because many European countries, particularly Italy and Greece, are heavily dependent on Libyan oil. At the UN in New York, a committee was set up today to monitor the effects of sanctions. The American ambassador believes the experience with Iraq shows sanctions can work.
The members of the Council are confident of resolving issues where countries remain in violation of their resolutions, and that will have to be taken care of. But I think the last fellow who didn't remember that got himself into very deep trouble, and I don't recommend others try.
The purpose of it all is to bring to justice those responsible for the deaths at Lockerbie. The investigators only claim firm evidence against the two Libyan intelligence officers the UN wants delivered to Britain or America for trial. But there's still suspicion that behind these two, it was Iran and Syria who were directing operations. In the Arab world, there's a belief the West currently needs the friendship of Syria and Iran, and so it